Premier, will Victorians today finally be given the answers to the key decision makers in the hotel quarantine scheme?
Well, I'm not going to presuppose what questions I might be asked, so therefore I can't really provide you with an answer to that question. That's a matter for the inquiry, and I would note that whilst today is the last day of hearings, as I understand it, the report of the inquiry, which gathers together not just evidence that's been given, but hundreds of thousands of pages of documents, that's not due for some weeks. Early November, I think, is when they're going to be providing that report.
Premier, is it acceptable to you that your health minister says she wasn't briefed on the hotel quarantine scheme and on infection control in the hotel quarantine scheme, given that infection control is a crucial part of that?
Rachel, I understand where the question comes from, and I don't want to be in any way difficult. I always endeavour not to be that way at all of these briefings, but out of respect for the process that I'm actually part of, I haven't just established it, which is a fact, but I will be appearing this afternoon, and I just don't think it's appropriate for me to be commenting on evidence that's been led or anticipating in any way questions that might be asked. My fundamental obligation is to answer the questions that are put to me today as directly, factually, accurately, honestly as I can, and that's what I intend to do.
How would answering them directly and factually now have any impact on this afternoon?
I think you well know the answer to that question, Rachel. I will speak to the inquiry about the issues that I'm asked about. The time for us to reflect on the point you've made, the observation you've made, will be when the Board of Inquiry has produced its report. Out of respect for that process, I'm not going to cut across that today.
Rachel's question also goes to the broader, the broader issue of whether the health minister should have been better across her portfolio. Yesterday she said that she did not seek updates on the hotel quarantine program until 2 months later. Is that acceptable?
Well, you're asking me to comment on evidence that has been led to the Board of Inquiry, and I'm afraid I'm not doing that.
I'm asking you whether it's appropriate for a health minister to wait 2 months to be updated on a program that essentially the department is the lead agency on.
I'm terribly sorry, Samaya. I'm appearing before the inquiry today, and I'm not going to canvass issues that I may well be directly asked about today, nor will I be drawing conclusions on evidence that has been led to that inquiry. That is not my role. That is not respectful of the process that's going on at the moment. I understand why the questions are asked, but if I try and write the report of the inquiry from this podium a month, 5 weeks before they will be actually handing down a report, the other point to make is that they have the benefit of having examined in some detail hundreds of thousands of documents, hundreds of thousands of pages of documents, I should say, as well as having heard from many, many witnesses. I don't believe it's appropriate for me to pretend to be chairing an inquiry that I'm not chairing.
There's no sub judice at play.
I'm not alleging that there is. At no point have I indicated that I can't. I'm indicating to you in as respectful terms as possible that I won't, because I don't believe that is appropriate. I'm not writing the report of the board. I am appearing before the board, and I will not in any way make any comments that might be interpreted by anyone as trying to direct the findings of this inquiry, to direct the line of questioning of this inquiry.
No one's asking you to make those comments. We're just asking you to answer simple questions about your minister's
You're asking me questions, and it is my judgment that if I answer those questions, then I will be cutting across the work of the board, and I will be cutting across the findings that the board may or may not make. That's not something I'm prepared to do. I have nothing but respect for this process. That's why I am assisting the process this afternoon. There'll be a time for us to talk about all of these issues and more, and that'll be when we all have the recommendations, the findings, the final report of this board, and that is not for a number of weeks.
Premier,